My name's Meg Ritchie and I'm going to spend the next hour talking about the discus. But before we get into the technicalities of the event, I'd like to give you some criteria upon which you can select athletes for the throwing events, particularly the discus. There are three essential attributes that you should look for when selecting a discus thrower. Firstly, we want height for the range of motion. Secondly, we're looking for explosiveness, an athlete who can handle their own body weight and move quickly. Thirdly, we're looking for a girl who is maybe a little bit over the normal weighted size girl. Not fat, but good muscular build. Once you have selected your thrower, it's important that you spend time conditioning that thrower, preparing them for the discus event. In my training, I like to select it down to 5 parts. Firstly, a running program. The running program would involve short sprint work, the type of work that would need to be done round about the competition phase, 30, 40 to 50 metre sprints. Secondly, a flexibility. Flexibility is extremely important with the discus thrower, even more so than a shot putter. We should have a long range of motion so as we can hit and attack this discus over a long range. Thirdly, cardiovascular type running. Many of you coaches may feel that a cardiovascular type development is not important to the discus thrower. Well, let's take a look at a throwing session. A throwing session may last for an hour and a half. That athlete must have the cardiovascular endurance to be able to throw just as hard at the end of that session as she did at the beginning. So cardiovascular work plays an important part in the discus. The fourth part of our conditioning program would be weight training. Weight training to me involves plyometrics, medicine ball work, circuit type training, before we even start to look at Olympic type lifting, which is essential for a discus thrower. The last and final part of the conditioning program is technique itself. We're trying to develop the body mechanics that will enable the thrower to throw a very long way. Now that we've selected our athlete and we have that athlete in good condition to be able to throw discus, we need to take a look at the mechanics of throwing the discus. Coaches, the first thing we must cover before getting into the technique is the grip. As you can see, the discus is a shallow, flat object. It weighs 2.2 pounds or 1 kilo. You must try to place the hand on the top of the disc with the ends of the finger joints just hitting the edge and fingertips pointing over the edge. The pinky is resting on top, the thumb gently at the side. Fingers should be about 1 centimetre apart. It's a good idea with a little more advanced thrower to ask them to move that middle finger up towards the forefinger, because that gives us a better purchase on the disc when we come to release. The disc comes off the hand in this fashion, off the forefinger. And you'll find in many top-class discus throwers, they have a very hard callus down the side of this finger. So that's the action that we're looking for. To rehearse this, you can get yourself and your athlete down on the ground here and roll the discus to one another. Take it back, roll it, and make sure as you roll the discus it comes off that forefinger. You should spend 10 to 20 reps just before the beginning of the session with your beginner thrower on just rehearsing that point, because in some cases I have seen, in fact I have a discus thrower that I'm coaching myself, who when she came into college was releasing the disc off the back of the hand. So it's very important to make sure that that wrist is cocked forward and the discus comes off the forefinger. The discus comes out from the hand in that fashion. Before we actually get into the technique of the throw, let's take a look at the dimensions of the area that we're working in. We have a discus circle here which measures 8 foot 2 inches in diameter. We have an arc which from the centre moves right out into your throwing area. Also, we must talk about safety when we're talking about throwing the discus, because the discus originally was a weapon of war and it was designed to kill. So we must remember that when we're using this area to always have your athletes behind the throwing area in full view of you and totally in your control. Okay coaches, now let's get into the actual mechanics of throwing the discus. I like to coach the discus from behind because that allows me to see the shoulder-hip relationship, which is very important in your stance. Now to assist me here today I have Mary Beth Weaver, who is a junior college transfer into the University of Arizona and whose best in the discus is 130. Coaches, let's have a look at the foot position in the discus. Toe of the left foot is lined up with the instep of the right foot. Good wide stance position. By that I mean a good 6 inches wider than shoulder width. Knee is going to come back over the top of this toe. Knee-toe relationship. Shoulders are pushed back towards the opposite direction of throw. So if we're throwing this way, we want the shoulders pushed back over the top of the knee, making a chin, knee and toe relationship. Now let me turn Mary Beth to the side so we can see some of these points that I've been talking about. Chin, knee and toe in line. We look for another line with the shoulder, hip, knee, ankle. So we're looking for this type of line, straight line in here. Note the position of the left foot. This is square on, parallel to the edge of the circle. Mary Beth's throwing arm would be here, shoulder height, making a straight line out to the end of her discus. Her left arm up here. Now I like to tell my athletes, tell me the time, look at your watch, and that's an excellent position for the left arm. The hip in this position should be pushed forward. So you're staying in that position with the hip pushed forward. You don't want the upper body leaning down with the hip sticking out. You want that upper body up, hip tucked in, throwing arm up, left arm there, your two lines. And that's your stance position. This is a static view of what the thrower should look like from the front of the circle. Coaches, what we've just seen is the standing throw position. It's the first teaching step in teaching the full movement. From the standing throw position, let's take a look at what happens when we actually ask the athlete to move. Down to the feet. The first thing that I look for is the toe on the ball of the foot and the toe turns in, knee turning in. We're looking for that first initial movement there. With that, the hip follows. You cannot turn your knee and your ankle and keep your hip still. The hip must move with it. So that whole unit here turns in and up. So you're going to turn that whole leg, turns in and extends up. It turns in again and extends up. Now let's have a look at the upper body relationship here. Arm back. Now coaches, you can actually put your athlete through this. Turn that leg in, keep the hip going. And now we have what we call hip lead. The relationship of the hip to the arm. The hip being way ahead. Keep that heel and leg turning all the way in. And we have bow position, which is better seen from this side. So if Mary Beth, if you can just show that from the side. Turn the foot in. Hip lead, arm way behind. And that's what we're looking for down the right-hand side of the thrower. Let's have a look at what's happening on the left-hand side of the thrower. This left leg is extended out, but the knee slightly bent. Not too much, just a slight bend in that knee. From there, the knee will turn to the front and then extend and lock. There. Watch that movement again. Okay, Mary Beth. Turn the knee, lock. And again. Foot turns, toe turns, up on top of it and lock. Right, let's have a look at the upper body relationship with the left leg. Again, watch your watch. Tell me the time, athlete. From there, that arm's going to come across here, right up on top, and keep that arm nice and high, blocking all the way down this left side. We like to refer to this in discus as closing the door. This is the hinge, all the way down here. This right-hand side is going to act as the door. Wham! Accelerate the right-hand side of the thrower against this braced left-hand side. Coaches, let's take a look at this from the front. Right-hand side moves, heel in, up, block there, shut the door. Our second teaching position is the running front, or as we refer to it as the South African drill. We sit with the hip over the heel, sitting using the legs. We set up that lead position with the discus way back, the arm up here, and from this position we start and maintain the rotation using the legs. Okay, Mary Beth, let's see that. Turn, 1, 2. Once more, Mary Beth. Notice that Mary Beth is using her right foot to push off over the top of the left and driving. And when I look at Mary Beth from the front, she's going to look like a sprinter coming out the blocks. Okay, turn, turn, drive, 1, 2. And again, Mary Beth. Watch those feet again. Balls of the feet, push off with the right and keep that right rotating right into the middle of the circle, into our standing throw position. Let's take it from the front, coaches. She's going to look like a sprinter, sprinting directly towards you. Right, bend the knees, move, 1, 2. Once more, Mary Beth. Balls of the feet. Now note that drive position off the left foot, and as she moves, the right foot turning. Once more. Run, 1, 2. And that right foot keeps turning, and here we have the stance position. Screw that leg right the way in, chest up, head up, and follow through. Once more, Mary Beth, the full thing. Balls of the feet, hip over the heels, sit, drive, 1, 2. Now note once more, just last time, Mary Beth, note once more how close this foot is to this foot. Okay, that right leg's going to clip really close to the left foot and go down, bang the middle. Okay, drive, close, 1, 2. Let's just talk about the South African drill for a moment and the important points involved with this drill. Sit with the hip over the heel. Use the athlete on the balls of the feet, not the flat of the foot. Always, always, always on the balls of the feet. As they turn, use the left leg to push off and move that weight over the top of the right foot. Turn and drive towards the centre of the circle. If you stand out the front of the circle and look back, you should see your athlete in a real sprint position. From there, keep that right foot nice and neat and tight. Simple. Don't let that right leg wave out to the side. Keep it in nice and tight. And as it moves past the left foot, begin to rotate the toe in towards the middle of the circle. That keeps the movement, that right leg active. An active right leg is critical to discus. It helps to maintain that hip lead position that we talked about earlier. From there, you're looking for your classic standing throw position. Hip away ahead of the arm and follow that hip into the release with the shoulder. Now coaches, I'd like to step in here and show you how we would progress from this South African drill into our full throw. Okay coaches, now we're in our South African position. The reason we use this South African position here is because our weight is over the top of the left leg. The most important part of teaching discus from the back is to make sure that that position, the athlete moves through it every time they throw. So what do? We keep the weight here, we turn and we move. From here we take a quarter turn to here and we say push off, turn and move. We take a little bit further into a 3/4 turn, push off and move, and eventually we can ease this foot right back into the circle, checking at each position that the weight shifts over that left foot, turn and drive. That's probably the easiest teaching progression into the full throw, gradually taking that right foot further and further round until the foot is in the circle. That's the best way to check that your weight continually moves over the left foot. Coaches, having got the athlete into the full throw position, I think it's important now that we spend some time looking at the left leg action. Mary Beth is going to pantomime the whole movement from the back. Sitting position, we're going to push off with the left leg, the right leg, over the left leg, over, place the foot in the middle. Remember, this position would probably be in mid-air with both feet off the ground. She's driven over the top of this foot here. The left leg now is going to pick up. This foot is turning, pick up knee to knee, turn and stretch. Now can we see that once more, Mary Beth? Let's go back into that position. Turn, close knees, knee, knee and stretch. Once more, Mary Beth. Turn, keep the knees very close and stretch and get that stance position. Now remember, coaches, it's important that the athlete's feet come down in the proper position. So as Mary Beth has gone out of position here, I'm going to take that front foot and put it in line with her instep. Remember, if that foot comes down way over here, she's in what's called the bucket position. And what happens? The foot comes down way over here. Meanwhile, while that foot's travelling there, this shoulder's moving round, and what's happened? She's lost her lead. We want that back there, the foot down quickly, so that she can maintain this hip lead position. If that foot comes down too late, or it's way over here, that hip begins to move, the shoulder moves, and we'll lose the lead. Maintain lead. Coaches, I'd just like to go through that left leg position again. It's very critical that we look. We're in here, full throw position. We turn. We're on the right leg, the left leg. We're going to drive. We're going to put that foot down in the middle. I want to see the back leg, this leg here, pick up, knee to knee, turn, and then reach. Once more. Over, weight over the left leg, turn, drive. From this position, knee to knee, pick up the leg and reach. Tight knees, reach. So we're looking at that position, there to there, keeping everything neat and tight. The last point that I want to make, coaches, is the release. There are two parts to the release, or two particular points I want to emphasise. Let's look at the feet. Remember, from our stance position, we want that toe lined up with the instep of the right foot. Sometimes in the full throw, this will happen. this foot will come down over here. Can you place your foot over here, Mary Beth? There we go. And what happens? We turn the hip to the front, and the hip is blocked by that front foot. This is a classic sign that the discus will go out on that right-hand side, definitely. If you bring your athlete back into position, make sure that that foot gets placed down over here. The hip then can move through, right through, and remember that part of your hip you want facing straight out in the direction you're going to throw in. That's a real critical point when it comes to release. You may find many athletes get frustrated because they'll tell you the discus keeps going out on the right-hand side. This is one of the classic causes of that. So check that foot position. The next point I want to mention in release is your reverse. The reverse, the athlete comes up, hip turns, that block, remember shutting the door there, close, and all we do is just pull in the right foot to the edge of the circle and switch feet. Can we see that again, Mary Beth? Once more. Right leg, hit, turn, 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 switch. Coaches, in the reverse, it's critical that we just make a logical progression from that right leg action. So it's right leg action, hit, continue, switch. Now, I like to teach discus first of all with that right leg down in contact.
I'll be back.